If you want to start making videos, you came in the right place. Today I'm going to teach you some of the basics of the video making. Stuff that I wasn't aware at the beginning, but when I started to pay attention to them, I upgraded my videos a lot. Let's begin. So this video is not just for a specific type of content. What I'm going to show you is important and relevant in pretty much every type of video making. We're going to talk about the very basics and maybe some advices, some tips if you want. So let's start. And we're beginning with the equipment. It's important to know that what comes out of your camera, the raw unedited material, is probably 50 to 60% of the whole thing. Is very, very important. One of the most important aspects of the filming is represented by the lighting conditions. So no matter what, make sure that you have proper lighting. For example, in my videos, I know that the light is still dim and I know it can be a bit brighter overall, but still you can see my face clearly enough. Also bear in mind that the positioning of the light is also important. Watch out what happens when I turn on the appliance in my living room, which is basically sitting behind me. See, it is brighter indeed, but at the same time you can see unwanted stuff there. If I'm looking at the screen here, I can clearly see the furniture here on the left side, my right side, and also it doesn't really look like a studio. I mean, we all know that it's not a studio, but I make my videos with this in mind. I want only my face to be in focus, and I want everything which is next to me, like the whole room overall, to be kind of lost in the dark, at least until I get a new studio. Don't forget to check our channel for even more content like this. A like, a share and a subscribe would also be very helpful, and if you're a music industry professional looking forward to expand your network, check our brand new platform, thetalentuniverse.com. Now let's get back to our video. And when it comes to the type of camera that you should use, well, it depends pretty much. I'm always trying to tell people to start with something cheap. You need to learn that the equipment is probably just 10% of the quality, apart from lighting, but that's another story. The knowledge is what consolidates and glues everything together. You can even start with a phone. I mean, it gives you the basic tools that you need to start your journey, and don't worry, we'll make a separate and dedicated video to that, like how to film with a phone. To be completely honest, you should spend your money on good lighting rather than spend them on a more expensive camera. But if you really want a camera but you're on a budget, you can start with something like a Sony a6000 or a Canon 800D. They will do the job. And oh yeah, bear in mind that the camera body is not as important as the lens that it's using. A cheap camera body with a more expensive lens will be a better combo than a more expensive camera body with some cheap lens. The phones nowadays can go up to 8K in video resolution. Do you really need that? Definitely not. It's still not a standard. Even Full HD does the job. To be completely honest with you, I'd rather film in Full HD with the Sony a6000 and a decent lens than in 4K with my iPhone 13, which is great for filming, for video making, but it's still not there. And honestly, even though we make everything in 4K here on YouTube, sometimes I feel the need to just stick with Full HD. I've just had enough of huge files and bad playback in DaVinci. I've just had enough of camera overheating and the cards getting full faster than me at a KFC. I mean, come on, Mr. Beast, one of the biggest YouTube channels on the planet, he's making his videos in Full HD. He just doesn't give a
Steady with the language.
And because I want to prove it, this video is entirely filmed, edited and exported in Full HD. Now, FPS or frames per second is the amount of frames a camera can capture in a single second. This is not as important as it sounds. As long as you don't need slow motion, if you stay in between 24 and 60 frames per second, you should be fine, really. Another thing to be considered here is that at some point you might see in your camera NTSC and PAL. They're not as relevant and important as they used to be back in the days, but keep this in mind. NTSC is 24, 30, 60, 120 frames per second, or a 30 multiplier, and PAL is 25, 50, 100, etc. frames per second, so a 25 multiplier. Now, they are quite complicated, to be completely fair with you. They are standards that have been created back in the days for the analog television, NTSC being the standard for most of the Americas and PAL being the standard for almost the whole Europe. Nowadays, the most important and relevant thing about them is the relationship between the camera's frame rate and the lights. In the United States, for example, the lights are flashing at 60 Hz. They are getting on and off 60 times a second. In Europe, the lights are working at 50 Hz. That's why 25, 50, 100 are working with them. But, as I said, they're not as relevant as they used to be. For example, right now I'm in Romania and I'm in Europe. This video is made at 60 frames per second and there's absolutely no flickering. Probably because the lights are coming from China or a country that doesn't respect the standards and the lights are working at 60 Hz. Now, in terms of aspect ratio, again, it depends on the type of content that you're making. For most of the video content, 16:9 will do the job. If you want to be more of a cinematic creator, to make like cinematic videos, music videos or film, doesn't really matter, a 1.85:1 or a 2.4:1 will help you more. But what you can do, you can film in 16:9 and then make the cuts in the post, as in you can import the video which is a 16:9 but export it in the aspect ratio that you need. Bear in mind that you need to think about your composition before, so you will not cover content that should not be covered in the first place. Number 3 is the settings on your camera or your phone. This is the trickiest one and it will take you the most to get used with them. But don't worry, practice
makes perfect.
So we have 3 main settings: aperture, ISO, and shutter speed. They are closely linked and you need to find the balance between them. Aperture means how fast the lens is, or simply put, how much it can open in order to let the light get in. It is often noted as f and a number, like f1.8, f2, f4, and so on and so forth. And this is because it is actually f1/1.8, f1/2, 1/4, etc. So it is a fraction. The bigger the number in the specification, the smaller the aperture can get. And to make the things a bit more complicated, the bigger the aperture is, the smaller the depth of field is. So yeah, you get more light in, but you lose focus surface. So yeah, depending on the content that you want to make, you might need a smaller aperture actually. For videos like this, for example, where it's just me talking in front of a camera, an f1.8 would be fine. Actually, it would be better than what I'm having now, an f4. But for a music video maybe in which you have a car, more people or something like this, you may want to go up to or down to actually 5.6 or something like that, depending on the case. The ISO is how sensitive your sensor is to light. It is represented by numbers, and the lower the number, the less sensitive it will be and it will capture less light. Same goes the other way, the higher the number, the more sensitive it is and it will capture more light. Now, what you need to know is that sensors are not made the same. They have different dimensions and different resolutions. And it's this weird relationship between the size, the resolution, and the ISO. We will obviously make a separate video about this, but to keep things simple here, the bigger the pixel, the better sensitivity it has. And I'm saying that because depending on the lighting conditions that you have, ISO after a certain threshold will start to produce noise. Moving to the shutter speed, this one can actually be the easiest one, but just in videography, not in photography. We'll talk about that in another video. It is measured in fractions of seconds, so you'll often see it 1/30, which is a 30th, 1/100, which is a 100th, and so on and so forth. And to make things a bit easier for you, there is a popular rule which is called the 180 degrees rule, which states that for any frame rate that you're using, the shutter speed should be the double of that. So, for example, if you film in 24 or 25 frames per second, your shutter speed should be 1/60 or a 60th. 60 frames per second, the shutter speed should be 1 per 120 or 120th, I guess. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing this correctly. The simple explanation is that this makes the motion similar to what our eyes are perceiving. Again, we will make a separate video on that. Now, the last thing that should be taken into consideration is for work and passion. It might seem overwhelming at the beginning and you will probably make a lot of mistakes along the way, but that's completely normal. In fact, that's how you learn. Keep practicing and learning, and it's not just the case with video making. Anything that you do, as long as it makes you happy, it will always be worth it. You got this. And I'm pretty much done here. This is the video. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it useful. Don't forget that I'm waiting for your feedback down below in the comment section. And also, a like, a share, and a subscribe would also be very helpful. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, take care of yourself. Bye bye.